Most students revise GCSE History the wrong way. Here are your history hacks that actually help you remember content and write top band essays. This hack is something that I did all the time when studying GCSE History. Once I've made my notes on a topic, I would get my phone out and record a voice note of me reading out the whole topic notes. And then these notes would become my podcast every day. When you're on the train, on the bus, doing your chores, going for a walk, listen to one of these voice notes in your headphones. People always try and learn GCSE History just with books, but it's really hard and really boring. We're actually really good at retaining information when we listen to it as well. Plus, when you're actually recording the voice notes and you're speaking out loud about the topic, it's like you're teaching it to yourself. And this helps it stick into your brain as well. This next hack, and one of my favorites, is the mistake journal. Have a separate journal and keep it with you in every history lesson you do. When you notice something that you're making mistakes on, or you don't have information about something, write it in the journal. For example, you get feedback on an essay and you're missing some key information. Or maybe your teacher's explaining a topic and you're sat there thinking, I have no idea what this is. Every time this happens, write it in the journal. And then, in your week, dedicate 30 minutes to mistake revision. In those 30 minutes each week, you take one thing from your mistake journal and you master that topic. You already know many things about the topics you're studying. There are some things you're great at and some things you're not so great at. Surely it makes sense to find the things you're not so great at first and revise them. When we're not so confident about a topic, we often avoid studying it. This mistake journal method forces us to find out how we get marks on those things that we hate studying. It's the best way to make sure you have no gaps when it comes to your exams. If you're still here and you're enjoying these tips, this resource is for you. If you click the link in the description, it takes you to my GCSE HT course on the website. This has over 100 revision masterclasses and quizzes on GCSE History, teaching you how to write top band grade 9 answers to every topic. And you can submit your essays to me for marking and even get one-to-one tutor support on WhatsApp and email. You can access all of this right now by clicking the link in the description or going to gcsehistorytutor.co.uk. Now back to the video. The next tip is helpful when you're writing your past paper answers. Most students just go through past papers and take the questions from the last few years and answer them before their exams. But the fact is, you are going to face new questions you haven't seen before when you go and sit your GCSE History exams. For 99.9% of students, that will be the first time they ever answer that question. But with this method, you can increase your chances of answering that question beforehand in your revision, giving you the best chance of getting a grade 9 when you sit that question in the exam. And this is the question swap method. Let's say you're practicing 16 markers on Weimar and Nazi Germany. Take the last 5 16 markers that have been asked in the last 5 years. Then open up your syllabus and compare. Look for which key topics have not been included in the last 5 years of 16 markers. And then swap the topic in the exam question for the topic that's not been asked. And make this your past paper practice. If you do this, when you go into the exam hall and sit that brand new question you get asked, everyone else will be freaking out because they've not studied it. But you would have written this 16 marker before you even got there. So much of GCSE History is just revising smart and knowing these methods of how to increase your chances of a grade 9. The final tip is the fake exam challenge. I suggest you do this as early as possible, even before your mocks. One of the biggest mistakes students make is not spending enough time writing essays in timed conditions on pen and paper. They are so hyper-focused on making sure they understand every topic, which of course is important, but they never spend enough time on actually understanding how much time they have for each exam question. And the best way to do this is by actually sitting exam papers. For example, most students sit their first exam paper when they do their mock in GCSE History. But what I say to my students in my one-to-one sessions is to practice exam papers before you go into that mock. Understand how much time you have, and essentially expose yourself to the stress of answering a time-restricted paper in history. The first time you do it, it's stressful. But why make the first time when you actually sit your mock? Or even worse, when you sit your real history GCSE? Just get that stress out the way as soon as you can in year 11 and sit an exam paper at home in time conditions. There's such a big mental game to going into exams in GCSEs. Feeling calm and confident is so important for your best performance in your exams. And by sitting past papers and exams in time conditions, we take away so many of the mental challenges, the stresses and anxieties that come with knowing how to deal with answering history essays in timed conditions. So use these hacks consistently and you'll be able to remember more for your exams, write better in your exams, and get a top grade in your GCSE history. Leave a comment below about which hack you're liking the most, and I'll reply to them all. See you in the next video.